Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to night 3 of 35th Summer Fishtrap Gathering of Writers. Wow, what a day. It started out, and the day just got nicer and nicer and nicer, and it's just concluding here with this beautiful, cool evening. I hope you, all of you who were in your writing workshops today, how'd it go? Super duper. I also want to especially welcome folks who've come in from the community. Welcome. We're glad to have you. Each of the evening readings are open to the public, and most of them are free. So it's good to have you all here, and we're gonna have a great night. I want to first ask a couple questions. There are some really exciting things going on here in Wallowa with the land. In a week, there'll be a ceremony here on these grounds of the lodge where this land is going back to the Nimipu, the Nez Perce people. For those of you who are local, I suggest coming back on Thursday for that. Yeah. As well as many other spots. As a matter of fact, we're going to have somebody from the Homeland, the Nez Perce Homeland Project in Wallowa, come on Friday to invite you on Sunday, and I'm already talking about the last day of Summer Fishtrap. Sorry, we're in the middle of it. But just so you can, as you're leaving the county, to stop in Wallowa and to visit that place. More on that later. And also, for those of you who haven't been here yet, each night to put our thoughts and words into action, we've been learning some Nimipu, some Nez Perce phrases from Beth Piatote. Does anybody remember the one we learned the first night? Tats mewi, good morning. Tats chalab, good afternoon. How about last night? What did we learn last night? We learned to say, what's your name? Does anybody remember how to say that? Wenakisa? Wenakisa. Yeah, my name's Mike. So Beth is going to be doing that each night. It's such a delight, and it brings really this place into the story that we're telling. And on Friday night, which is oftentimes our keynote, which is our kind of special night where we celebrate the theme each year. This year's theme of Summer Fishtrap is Renewal. We've invited a group with Beth Piatote is part of. Lukopsime, is that close? Lukopsime, the North Star Collective, which is a group of Nez Perce artists, teachers, and writers who will, I think it's something not to be missed. So if any of you who are coming in from the public, plan on coming on Friday night to see that. But, so Beth has been trying to teach us a word every day, but we got a pinch hitter tonight. Sarah Hennessy is part of Lukupsime, the North Star Collective, and she's going to come up and teach us a word tonight. Come on up, Sarah.
Oh, Katsiao Yao, Tots Kulawit Oikaloma, Wetnikissa, Sarah Christine Hennessy, Tots Hio Tots at Papine. So good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Christine Hennessy. It is so good that you came. So tonight's word is hisamtuks, it means moon. It also means sun, and it's also a word that we use for month. And so hisamtuks. Oh, music to my ears. Oh, the land rejoices. Wattis Eitznin. The land is happy. Eitznin, Wattis Eitznin, the land is happy. So, Katsiao Yao Oikaloma, thank you all so much. Hisamtuks. One more time, everybody. Oh, so it means moon. It also means sun, and then it's also a term that we use for month. And so, hisamtuks. Oh, and yeah, Beth picked it because tonight is the full moon. And so, yeah, hisamtuks.
And now you just have to come Friday night, right? Okay, well, thank you very much. We'll see you more, and make sure you stop by and say hi to Sarah during the week and this weekend, along with all the others. You can learn about them in your program. Don't know the players without a program. I also want to say, for those who haven't yet and those new here, Fishtrap has a bunch of a silent auction going on in the lodge. Super cool stuff from local folks. Check it out. Bid on some things, and you can buy raffle tickets. All this help just keep Fishtrap going. Tonight we have 3 readers, like we do each night. Our first reader is somebody who I feel like is kind of like a bigger sister or even a maternal figure to Fishtrap. It's like she watches out for us when we're out on the playground and makes sure that we don't get in trouble, and when we do, kind of helps us out, and has been doing this for so long. Continues to be just somebody who talks about Fishtrap out in the world and continues to come and enrich us, and has been a part of Fishtrap for a long time. You know who I'm talking about, the one and only Laura Pritchett. Yeah. I feel the same way. Let's talk about Laura for a moment. If you don't know, Laura is the author of 5 novels, 2 nonfiction books, 1 play, and is the editor or co-editor of 3 environmental anthologies. She has over 300 pieces of fiction and nonfiction published, many of which are experimental in nature. She directs the MFA in nonfiction, the MFA in nature writing at Western Oregon University, and resides in her birthplace of Northern Colorado. She believes that the future of writing will be collaborative and experimental. And if you were at her craft talk today, you know it's about good beginnings and good endings. Bring up my friend, Laura Pritchett.
He's so nice. He got one thing wrong, Western Colorado University, but I'll be in Oregon or wherever. I won't spend too much time on the obvious, but I do have to say it. This is my soul place, and thank you, Mike and Shannon and board members and all of you participants. There's many things to do in the world, and thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And the percentage of people out there in the world who care so much about books and the environment is not that big, right? And sometimes that's disheartening, but here we are together, and that fills my well, and I hope it fills your well. And I love you all, and I'm really glad you're here. Thank you. Thank you. So I had to say that stuff. And I'm so excited to read with the fellow Coloradoans tonight. And I'm going to read a very Colorado thing. I talked today at my craft talk about my novel, The 3 Keys, but I don't want to read that. And that's sent to my agent, and that's great. But this is a different book. It's experimental form and technique fiction about a wildfire bearing down on a Colorado community, and told from the points of view of everyone in that community as they're fleeing. And some of them are messed up, and some of them are kind, and some of them are mean. But I also wanted to give voice to the mountain itself, and the bear, and the raven, and the moose that burn. And I might cry because 2020 was a tough year, and 2013 was a tough year. That's why I write about it and try to give voice to that trauma and love and people falling in love and having sex and going on with their lives and, rejoicing through it all too. So I'm going to read a bit from it, and I picked my most experimental pieces, or some of them, since that's what I'm teaching here. So I would like to read you an obituary, a flash piece, and an episodic piece. And the first 2 are actually nonfiction, but I'm going to somehow make them fiction, because we writers can do that, and we just got to do a little shape-shifting. So this first one, I wanted to read the dedication. I'm working on this book. It's coming out about a year from now from Torrey House, so everything's still under renovation. This book is dedicated to all who have watched the sky blacken and the sun turned red, and to those who have lent a helping hand, restoration volunteers, firefighters, and those who worked to coordinate, feed, caffeinate, and shelter animals and people. And to all the kids with lemonade stands for those fleeing the mountain. Okay, I'll get it together. This fire was tough on me. Obituary for a wildfire. You fuckers were born of Smokey Bear and Mother Nature, nurtured in the cradle of climate change, and well-nourished big beasties you grew to be. I had the opportunity to intimately know the two healthiest of you, the first and second largest wildfires in Colorado history, records made right in front of my eyes, so I can attest to your hale and hearty condition. Your life was outrageously flamboyant, and your legacy will be stupendous, and the next year will prove it so, in our lungs and in our lands. First, it's your prolific overpopulation that sets you apart. An incredible 1,016 wildfires having burned just in my home of Colorado, and your extended family, wow. According to the National Interagency Fire Center, 46,000 of you were burning nationwide, eating up 8 million acres in 2020, which is 2 million more than the 10-year average. Indeed, while I'm most acquainted with the Colorado branch of the family, my condolences extend far beyond. California, Washington, Oregon, Arizona, Idaho are still reeling from your fecundity. Birth control is something I wish we'd all considered. As in prescribed burns, as in less dependent on fossil fuels, as in seeking indigenous wisdoms, as in intergenerational equity and respect for the future, caring more about being excellent ancestors rather than dutiful descendants, willing and accepting of change. These are the things we should have done and perhaps still have time for. Your impact will be remembered. Like the lakes of fire in Revelation or Dante, your flames have caused a lot of hellfire, covering our houses in ash and lungs, evacuating friends, burning homes, sending cortisol levels sky high as your billows of smoke. You created a strange contradiction of sounds, such as the constant drone of helicopters paired with the quiet presence of stressed animals seeking shelter. An elk in my yard, a limping bear with a burned paw up the mountain. You had a unique small effects as well, such as the increased use of spray paint, either for phone numbers on horses or cattle, or plywood signs made for firefighters and for community. Who imagined you would spawn such creativity? Finally, let me speak to your future legacy. It is secure. Now that we're all out in the mountains, we can still smell the smoke, and we have bent down and picked up handfuls of burned pine needles and remembered our favorite spots, the places we picnicked or read books or skied or made love. Our forests are changed. Also, since you are a high consumption fire, our soils are hardened and will not regrow naturally. Everything from water quality issues to future flooding, here we come. So don't worry, you will not be forgotten. So your population, your size, your impact, your legacy, in these ways you have become oh so successful. So I dedicate this obituary to one in particular, for I have a special relationship with you, Cameron Peak Fire, who tormented me personally the most, living for 130 days, an extraordinary long life for a creature like you. You did a great deal of damage in that span, giving me a hacking cough, bloody nose, headaches for months, and lungs that took a year to recover, though I fared better than many. The memorial services have been held everywhere. We have raised a whiskey to your demise. Tree plantings will soon occur. Monies have been donated. Neighbors have helped neighbors rebuild homes. A few evacuees have fallen in love. Some have had great sex. Some have adopted a dog. Ceremonies of healings will commence. We ask only for peaceful reprieves from time to time, so we can eulogize accordingly and say goodbye to our planet in little bits, starting perhaps by writing some stories. So, thank you. That was the angry and sad one, but here's a peaceful lyrical one called 10 Seconds. It came out recently in terrain.org, which is one of my favorite mags, and it's a piece of flash nonfiction, and very short and peaceful, I think. 10 seconds. Yesterday, I witnessed a great hawk and sparrow drama with several plot twists and an unexpected ending. Let me say right here, I am not certain what kind of hawk it was, maybe a rough-legged, perhaps an immature red-tailed hawk. I have no idea, because I only moved from general bird appreciation to actually trying bird watching since COVID, which is a humbling move, as all such moves are. It's hard to admit that one has been basically lazy. Honing our observational skills really does matter to a life well lived. I believe that. But also, I am a regular human with regular human tendencies. I'm trying to up my game, though, and this is extended to bird appreciation. So what happened was this. I was shoveling snow off my deck, and I happened to glance up at just the right second. But first, the snow. It didn't really need to be shoveled. It could just melt. The next day was forecasted for a Colorado sunny and 60. But there I was for no good reason except I am human, and therefore I wanted to get out of the house and to do things like get fresh air and ward off backaches from sitting and blueness from winter and wildfires. So there I was, annoyed because it was still very cold and windy, not the sort of day you really enjoy being outside, but simultaneously needing to ward off the dangers. It had been a tough year. That's when I glanced up to see a flock of sparrows congregated on a patch of brown, muddy dirt near our car, and right then a hawk swooped down and picked up a sparrow, flew a few feet and landed with its talons in the snow. And there they sat for a few seconds. I assumed the hawk would eat the sparrow, which felt like a good idea, because hawks need to eat too. But the sparrow kept cheeping, all the scattered sparrows kept cheeping, and I stood there waiting to see how this would play out. And then I said, "Dude," because the hawk was sinking into the snow, flapping its wings. At the sound of my voice, he flew off. I had a moment of confusion. Had he already eaten that little thing without me noticing? Then a little head popped out of the snow. Such a tiny little head in a big expanse of white. We stared at each other, equally surprised, and then she flew off to a low branch. I tromped through the snow so I could stand underneath her, and I looked up and said, "Hey, are you okay up there?" And she took off, so the answer was yes. Then I looked down at the patterns of the hawk's swing beats and the little sparrow feathers scattered among the crystals. That was only 10 seconds of my day, but it was the most alive 10 seconds of my day. 10 seconds in a day is all you really need, I suppose, to not only relieve backaches and heartaches, but also to realize that instead of just knowing the vague difference between a hawk and a sparrow, a very vague distinction to be sure, that you could take another step in the direction of being a better witness. Rough-legged hawks have small feet, the better to perch on the smaller twigs towards the end of branches, which actually, somehow, really matters. Thank you. Thanks. I'm having fun. Even if I get sad, I'm having fun. So this next is very short blips on a page called Woman, Moose, Raven, and I'm still working on it, so forgive me if it's rough. Woman. She would have been looking out the kitchen window because doesn't everyone do that? She'd have been watching the smoke billow into sky. She may have held the thought to leave for a fleeting spark of time. Perhaps she glanced around at the cats, would have shaken her head no, impossible to leave them. She'd go outside and move the sprinklers, would have looked at her hand on the doorknob and ducked her head in sorrow. Agoraphobia, her daughter had said. But also the cats, the horses, the meadow. So she stood at the threshold of the door, and according to newspaper reports, that's where she must have realized and sunk to her knees, took her last breath. Surely she closed her eyes at that last moment and dreamed of rain and a greening world. Moose. Don't doubt for a woman I am not in love with that creature standing there with her cats meowing at her feet. So forlorn these last years, but only because she's forgotten how to be, how to stand in a meadow and lower one's head to wildflowers. Her forlornness has been replaced by edge, cut, fear, slice. I do not want to die either. The struggle to live crosses all species. I have run all I can. My knees buckle at the same time hers do. We are out of air. We both go down. I have the ancient feeling of standing in the rain, nose in flowers. Raven. All I need is a drink of water, which I find under the sprinkling water, hunker, rest, watch a cat dart by, watch a bear gimp by, one front paw burn, moose goes down, woman goes down, try, I raise wings in flight towards red poppies in a cabin. And then the book starts with red poppies in a cabin. This is from later in the book, and I decided I had to tell this guy's story. It's very short. Armadillo. He's back in Texas now. Yeah, maybe he hadn't put out the fire at Heart Lake, had a headache from the beer and altitude. He'd made good faith effort, hadn't he? Used his camping pan filled with lake water, tossed it on the sizzle, sent ash flying. Just this, he didn't want to go back for more, didn't want to use his drinking water, which he'd need for his hike out. Besides, it was a calm day. The campfire would cool off on its own. But pause, look at the Texas sky. Maybe he knew that was possible, that a fire would spring up. The thought did cross his mind as he hiked away, backpack pressing on shoulders, headache pressing on skull, a niggling feeling pressing on his heart. That vague, uncomfortable sensation that surely all humans shared, which is that, well, they could have just done a little bit better. And that's fiction. No one ever found out who started that fire, but it was a camper. So the last one I want to read is Reliable Narration. It's an episodic piece. It's fiction. It's told from the point of view of a teacher named Ty. And it goes out to all my students because we've been talking about episodic work, and it's marked on the page by a big space break. And so every time I flip to a new section, I'm going to do that just to signal it's a new segment on the page. And it speaks to the form of episodic, so I wanted to give tribute to what we've just been discussing. So, reliable narration. Today I have a fever. Likely it's the tooth, a root canal gone bad, and the subsequent need to have number 14 creaked out of my mouth. Perhaps it's a fever from life, a condition created from an unreliable narration on a beautiful planet combined with mortality salience, plus being called to bear witness to Gaia's potential demise. I'm a teacher with a fever, Ty the teacher. I did not become a taxidermist or a dentist, for better or worse. Episodic writing, I tell my students, is worthy of your attention. Give it a try. You can get to substance in small, innocent-seeming tidbits. Several levels of truth can be revealed. Generally, there is some rooting to a holding image that serves as a connective device. I always use that famous short story, Lust, by Susan Minot, as an example. Look how form informs the content, I say. Look at how disjointed the narrator becomes from her own body as she has multiple meaningless sexual encounters. Her fragmentation is revealed in the written fragments. My students love it because it's good and it's about sex. Blur the boundaries of fiction and non, I tell them, and call it fiction if you need to keep your privacy. I like sex too, though I said no to your proposal, because you are in a relationship already, albeit a rotting one, perhaps because you are married to the wrong gender. But affairs are like a tooth infection or like a fragment of a story, and I don't want any more of those. Except, well, two souls connecting is rare. We all know it. We get lonely. We ask ourselves, what else is there in life other than love? So I did have a love affair with you in my mind, and it was lovely, because for a few moments, it was as if all the smoke was gone from wildfires in Colorado, plastic gone from the oceans, rivers ran properly in their courses, and all stories felt true. I wasn't sure what to think about the YouTuber my niece sent me to explain her love life. The YouTuber said, treat your love life like a TV series with a lot of seasons and episodes, not like one long rom-com movie with one relationship that will last forever. I said to my niece, episodic stories are like that, best told in bits, but I wonder, isn't this how the planet got so bad, how we got so lonely? I said, responsibility, commitment, that's another kind of love that takes time. She rolled her eyes, and I thought, poor Mama Earth, we treated her like a TV show. Regarding teeth, when the dentist was bending over me to look in my mouth, I thought of his lower back, because dentists all seem to have bad backs. Just like teachers have tired eyes, like writers have achy wrists. As he looked at my teeth, I thought about his spine and how in relieving some of my suffering, he was most likely causing some of his own. That made me sad. The virus made me sad. I have started to grind my teeth at night. So I did well to avert our relationship. I heard what you said with your vocal cords, your eyes, your body language, and then I reluctantly edited out that potential version of how this story could have gone. I am just a fuck-up human, lonely and lusty, so I mattered true story, true story, true story. Find and keep the true story here. My tooth really started hurting last week after a month of hurting vaguely, one example of my regular humanness. Of course, if we had gone ahead with a tryst, we'd find something not to like about each other, and I would have food in my teeth, metaphorically speaking, and so would you. But also, know that I do not judge you. I know we're all just feeling crazy. We miss a healthy planet, so we reach out like zombies to one another to prevent becoming zombies. Betrayal of any kind now seems somehow related to Gaia betrayal, and that is what I am trying to avoid. I want to reliably narrate a short story in honor of humanity and her future, in honor of the complex hearts, in honor of our stunning inability to properly gauge the consequences of our actions. I want to write an apology letter for the many ways we have pulled Gaia's teeth. She feels hot when I press my bare feet to her forehead. Do you feel it too? 3 days ago, I had the tooth pulled and evacuated, but now I am sick. Maybe my fever is the result of the anger at the innocent dentist, or at teeth in general, or the basic bad design we all have, both emotionally and physically, or maybe it's just that I'm angry with you. I tell my students, write unreliable narrators, dramatic tension, except, of course, simultaneously do the opposite. Tell the story that is the truer than true. Maybe playing around with a heart is what a heart is for. When a heart comes snapping alive, well, that is something indeed. No one can foresee it or stop it or do anything except be mesmerized. That is what is happening now to us all. Metaphor is the greatest act of writing. Look at Gabriela Garcia Marquez's story, One of These Days, I say to my students. Consider the tooth that's being pulled, a wisdom tooth, no less. Teeth are great metaphors. Power, voice, voicelessness. Speak up with metaphors. Please imagine that this is a story, and it goes like this. Today I have a fever. Perhaps it's because I miss the days in which humans not only had free speech, but frank speech. I miss the days when we had reliable narration and knew more or less who to trust. I miss the days when we were told a whole and complete story and had long-term relationships. Those days are coming. They could come at least. New stories, reliable narrators, gatherings, renewal. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Sometimes people ask me, it's like, how do you figure out how to, the faculty, the teachers who are going to be at Summer Fishtrap, who's going to come and teach every year? And really it's a puzzle that's hard, that depends on the year. And Shannon and the staff and the program committee and I are always thinking about this, and it has to do with the year, the location, the theme, who else is going to be there to try to provide a wide different representation of folks teaching in different genres, trying to pick sometimes something that isn't, a lyrical essay or bookmaking or songwriting, and all these different things come into play. And some people have been on our list of folks we wanted to have come for years, and each year it's a different thing. I also get a lot of proposals from folks, and I've never told anybody this, not even my boss, that I have a special folder from people who write to me and say, hey, Luis Alberto Urrea told me I should get in touch with you. No, but Luis, for those who don't know, has been a big part of Fishtrap for many years. Has probably been taught here 20 or more years over the 34, 35 years. And he is one of the greatest proponents of Fishtrap. Everywhere he goes, he tells people, hey, you got to go to Fishtrap. This is a place that changes your life. This is a place that, this is a group of people. But I got a note about a couple of years ago from a woman named Karen Auvinen who said, hey, Luis said I should get a hold of you. I think it'd be really fun to teach at Summer Fishtrap. And I kind of put it in the folder. And then I got another one from Karen. I said, I'm going to go check out who this person is. And we had like a phone call or Zoom call. And immediately I said, oh my gosh, we got to bring Karen Auvinen in. And so last year during COVID, Karen taught 2 or 3 online virtual workshops, and just her generosity and energy and love for her students just came through the internets and into me too. And so when we were thinking about who was going to teach the 2022-2023 year-long writers workshop, it takes somebody, a certain kind of somebody, like Laura or Sharma and other people. And I kind of thought, I bet you Karen is the right person for this coming up one. And sure enough, Karen said yes. And a group of 9 of you are starting a year-long adventure with Karen starting this week. So our next reader is Karen Auvinen. Here's a little bit about Karen. Karen is an award-winning poet, mountain woman, lifelong Westerner, writer, and the author of the memoir Rough Beauty, finalist for the Colorado Book Award and the Willow Award. Her work has appeared in the New York Times, Lit Hub, Real Simple, Westward, the Colorado Sun, as well as numerous literary journals. She earned an M.A. in poetry from the University of Colorado and a Ph.D. in fiction from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Karen teaches writing workshops at Lighthouse Writers Fishtrap and and is the writer in residence for the state of Colorado, editor, book buyer. She's been, among other things, a writer in residence for the state of Colorado, an editor, a book buyer, a rural postal route driver, that's a good gig, caretaker, clinic assistant, landscaper, summer camp director, ooh, I know somebody else who you should talk to, and a guest chef. She lives in the Colorado mountains with artist Greg and their dog River and Dottie the cat. Please help me welcome Karen Auvinen.
I've also been a phlebotomist. So I think there's a couple other things. So I just want to say that, yes, all that's true about Luis. I wrote 3 times so Mike couldn't ignore me. But then on the last time he said, oh, I asked Laura Pritchett about you. She said you were cool, and then I was hired. So Laura and I have some interesting overlap because we both mingle in small mountain communities, mountainish communities. And I'm going to read from my a collection of short stories that was is at a publisher right now. And I was hoping the full moon was going to drop an offer on me, but not yet. I have this mountain town that I write about, or mountain towns, and I write about the outliers in the West because I've been one for so long. And if you've read my book, you know I write about Jamestown. So like this town that I'm writing about is basically Jamestown, although I call it Pine. And I am writing, I wrote a story about, so I write from the town's point of view a lot in this book. I have 4 stories from the town's point of view. Because when you live in these small communities, and maybe it's true like Joseph, you hear the town when you just hear the town. They have a voice. And so this story that I'm going to read you is from the point of view of the town, which is called Pine. The original, and I just want to say that word for anybody who might be offended, there's some salty language and pornography in this little mountain tale of mine. So this is an excerpt, and this story was called The Porn Star of Pine. Which is the title I want, but I've been persuaded to call it The Pine, Lady Terrorist Society, and Sewing Circle, both of which, the porn star and the sewing circle, figure prominently in this story. So, and this is just you gotta buy the damn book when it comes out to read the whole thing. So, okay. We met Woody Long on Halloween during a blizzard. There was always snow that time of year, and most of us were down at the Merc for Pine's All Hallows Eve costume party, a big, messy debauch with beer and a local band. Floyd booked the neighbors, and Donna hired extra servers, and the whole town cut loose on the night of the year when it is said that the veil between the living and the dead was the thinnest. We were body to body, pirates and cowboys and zombies, shimmying with red cups full of beer. Woody stood shirtless at the bar in a pair of skin-tight leather pants slung low on his hips, his dark sunglasses on his face like he was somebody. "What are you?" asked Donna as he ordered a pitcher of beer. "Porn star," said Woody. And then he added, "ma'am." Something about the way he said it made her laugh, she said. He looked like some kind of aging golden god with his haggard California surfer good looks and dimpled chin, a Dorian Gray who'd had more than a few bad days. Oh, honey, I'm not that old, said Donna, shaking her head. When someone called you ma'am, she said, they might as well have called you granny or biddy or old bag, or worse, Mrs., a term that relegated a woman to the back of the closet like a dress you don't wear anymore. Her beauty had always been something she could count on, and with it, the admiration and attention of men. Donna, who had absolutely no intention of going gently into that good night, carried herself with the air of a 19th century beauty queen, and we loved her for it. She held out her hand. Call me Donna. Woody took the hand in his own, turned it over, and bowed low over it. Horace saw the whole thing and called it real smooth. I do declare, said Donna. She smiled, pleasure dropping over her face like water. She arranged the tattered red feather boa coquettishly about her shoulders and across the long calico dress she wore. On her feet were delicate lace-up leather boots. Her brown hair was pinned to the top of her head in artful coils, a choker at her throat. Except for the feathers, it was something she always wore. What are you? Woody asked. Oh, I'm a floozy, said Donna. And she leaned toward him as she said it, a little drunk. And for a moment, we thought she might lose her balance and tip over into his arms. We watched as she introduced Woody to the boys at the bar. Anybody who knows Mountain Town knows there are always boys at the bar. First Rooster, who wore a Viking helmet and a fur vest, his only costume because he said every artist was a barbarian at heart. And then Louis, tall and thin with deep-set eyes, who'd recently learned he'd become the accidental father of twins when he reunited for a split second with his ex, Tanya, a woman who'd been married 6 times. He darkened the circles of around his eyes and painted his face and lips white. I'm a dead man, he said. Woody's a porn star, said Donna, and the line of the bar cheered and raised their glasses. Dang, I wish I'd thought of that, said Horace. He wore his grandson's toy silver star pinned to his leather vest and a felt cowboy hat stuck on his head. He clutched a stick horse in his hand. I forgot to get a get-up, he said. Over the years, we'd seen it all on Halloween, the way drink mixed with the private pleasure of disguise to expose parts of people's personalities that perhaps even they never knew existed. There was the time Sean, a quiet short-order cook who made the Merck's Weekly biscuits and gravy, came as Sid Vicious, his hair spiked and wearing chains and a studded collar, with blood spattered all over his T-shirt. He was a big guy, and he made the dance floor his own personal mosh pit as he slammed into Louis and broke his nose. Another year, mousy little Courtney's kitty cat costume whipped the boys into a frenzy, and a fist fight broke out over the young woman who, until that very night, went unnoticed by anyone. Last year, Jerry came as a go-go girl, and with such a natural in skirt and boots, we realized he'd been wearing a costume all along. While some said Halloween was one night of the year when we revealed our true natures, others said that the party was just a bunch of drunks behaving badly. At the heart of the disagreement was alcohol and the urges it releases. After serving house water on the sly for years, the Merc requested a liquor license, and that drew a line between the partiers and the prudes in town. Beer and wine were approved, and we'd had a few good years of good times without much excess until recently, when a turf war erupted between Donna and Floyd, who are married. Donna had run the business more or less on her own since she and Floyd, her second husband, bought it. She decided the menu and cooked for folks lined up for food. That was a delightful combination of down-home and elegant. That all changed after Floyd retired from his job as an itinerant clothing salesman. Suddenly, he wanted to say and how things were done. After all, there's only so much frisbee golf and fishing a man can do. Floyd dreamed of his own speakeasy, the way the Merc had been when they served alcohol on the sly, with bands fiddling out tunes while regulars crowded around the bar, drinking beer by the pitcherful. His vision collided with Donna's and her quiet, candlelit Friday night dinners with special wines and roast salmon or beef bourguignon. Arguments broke out over the menu, short order or bistro, about the cost of wines Donna wanted to offer and the swill Floyd kept on tap. In September, Floyd marked his territory by putting up a couple of Rooster's neon oil landscapes. Garish images of mountains, light and lightning cut in iridescent green and purple, or sunsets exploding in unnatural-looking blue and golds. The paintings contrasted to Donna's bordello style with its burgundy floral lampshades, velvet Victorian-style couches, and framed images of famous frontier madams like Pearl de Verre, the soiled dove of Central City. Where once a gauzy photo of a lace-clad nymph hung in an elaborate frame above the toilet, coyly regarding whomever stood in front of her, Floyd hung a bronze sculpture of a skier shredding the slopes, zigzagging toward the toilet bowl. He plunked down a couple of pink flamingos in the garden boxes outside. Some said the new look was mountain funky, and they liked it. But when Floyd took down the sign above the kitchen that had long proclaimed it as the goddess realm, we knew there was trouble. At the Halloween party, Donna kept asking Woody to dance, dragging him to the front of the cafe in view of the band, and Floyd, who was playing his drunk stick, a washboard and tambourine attached to a broomstick that he pounded on the floor as he looked on. He was dressed as a pirate with a patch over his eye and a flouncy white shirt open nearly to his navel, showing off gray hair and a weirdly tanned chest. The men in Pine had always been preeners. Donna shimmied with her feathers, backing up against Woody and his bulging leather-clad crotch. As Floyd played in an uneven time to the music, she knew exactly what she was doing, but Woody bore her attention passively. There was something bloodless in the way he rotated his pelvis, arms in the air or holding on to Donna. He seemed to know what to do and how to act, but his performance, although perfect, was oddly numb. Donna politicked, Woody pantomimed. The window behind the band, which proclaimed the Pine Mercantile Cafe in yellow block letters outlined in red, fogged, while outside the ghostly figures of smoking ghouls huddled against the swirling snow. By the end of the night, we knew Woody's getup was no mere costume, and that Floyd and Donna were headed for a fall. Word spread like it does in town the day after about the night before, about Donna and Woody grinding on the dance floor in full view of Floyd, how Woody had done mostly what he'd called short order stuff, a camera, some lights, and a bed with a big-breasted blonde making as many as 36 films a year. He started movies under the name Sheriff Long John's, Johnny Hard-On, and Rooster Cockburn. This is true. Rooster, who mused out loud that he could have been a contender, looked Woody up on the internet and gleefully reported that he starred in a movie called The Penetrator, where he played a sex cyborg who utters the line, "I'll come again." And the boys at the bar adopted the phrase as their own. "I'll come again," they shouted in a souped-up Arnold way whenever they left the Merc. The porn star was the hot topic as people passed on the wooded trails around town or stopped at the post office. Our curiosity was pure prurience, our imaginations filled with carnal excess. What we didn't know didn't stop us from trying to get all the salacious details. Soon, fact was indistinguishable from fiction, like so much of what happened in Pine. Woody went home with Louie and just stayed. He had been stone cold sober all evening until the exact moment he was not. Complete inebriation came upon him suddenly, and then he had the look of someone who didn't understand how to make his arms and legs do what he wanted them to do. He went down like a rock dropped from a great height, crashing to the floor, and Louie and a few of the boys helped him up and over to Louie's just across the creek from the Merc. Louie gave him some work, handyman stuff. A great joke among the guys at the bar where Woody and Louie appeared most nights, always the final stop before home. The boys gathered around Woody like he was Pine's own celebrity. Even guys who didn't frequent weekend nights at the Merc when Floyd presided over this bar suddenly showed up in the hopes of hearing Woody recount his film exploits. Curiosity crackled in the air. "What's it like?" asked Steve, a man with a Yogi Bear demeanor who was, despite all his aspirations, ordinary in every way. "Fun, what do you think?" crooned Rooster, grinning. Woody shook his head as if he's answered the question a million times. He would only say that it was a lot of the same people, just different scenarios. "Like marriage," said Floyd. Okay. So this causes a little commotion in the town, and people divide. Donna's camp, Floyd's camp. By Christmas, the Merc was crowded. Crowd had divided into two camps, and folks either showed up for Donna's dinners and her Sunday brunch, or for Floyd's weeknights at the bar. The closer the circles tightened around each other, the wider the distance between Floyd and Donna. Someone who had lived in town who didn't live in town got a completely different notion of what the Merc was all about, depending on what day of the week they stepped in the front door. Floyd let the customers get stoned at the bar, where he dimmed the lights so low that the Merc acquired the smoky air of an opium den. And then he took shortcuts with the bar menu, dropping whatever he could into the fryer, while Donna added 2 more Eggs Benedict's variations and more prep to the brunch menu, and introduced mimosas served in sturdy bar-style pint glasses garnished with a strawberry. Floyd complained about the grocery bills for Friday night dinners and the cost of making hollandaise from scratch, while Donna accused Floyd of turning the Merc into a boy hole and serving too much free beer. Mr. Goodtime, she called him. More stuff appeared on the walls, a painted cow skull and a pair of bronzed adult shoes, replacing Donna's pictures. And Donna declared a man-free zone on Sunday afternoons after closing. Some say she wanted to keep Floyd out. He liked to come in and count and pocket the cash from the Merc's most profitable shift. On those afternoons, Donna sat at the big table near the bar, drinking wine and chain smoking out in the open while she did the books, a gray cloud hovering overhead. While she tallied, she talked to her best friend Susie, who knitted, and Mary Ann, the town clerk. They played Nancy Griffith and Emmylou Harris on the stereo as a propane blower powered on and off. One Sunday in late November, the door banged open and cold air rushed in. "What are you gals up to?" drawled Horace. He too often made the mistake of thinking his presence was welcome everywhere. He looked at the 3 women seated around the table. Susie knitted a red sweater, Mary Ann pieced a quilt, and Donna drank. She had remarkable aqua color eyes, but now they looked tired. "Sewing circle?" asked Horace. Donna had cooked 60 breakfasts in 4 hours, everything from pancakes and French toast to Eggs Benedict and her special Cleo's omelet with ham and asparagus, and she was in no mood for charm. "We're plotting the overthrow of the patriarchy," she said flatly. "How's that?" Horace laughed. "The who?" He never could take a hint. Outside, the wind blew against the front glass. Low clouds threatened snow. Moving closer in the darkened room, he said, "I'll let you overthrow me if you ask real nice." Horace was married, but that never stopped him from saying to a woman's face how he'd like to bend her over like a shotgun and give it to her with both barrels. That is also true. He thought he was being debonair, that women like to be talked to that way. "I think I'll just call Janie," came the reply, "and see what she has to say about the way you swing your dick around town. And then I will give her sewing lessons so that she can stitch your tiny prick to your balls." Horace pivoted, closing the doors softly behind him, and the Pine Lady Terror Society and Sewing Circle was born. So the Sewing Circle happens, and it's for vaginas only, and it's on Sundays. And it goes, the women gather, so they gather. I'm going to read a little bit about them gathering, then they have a party. They took turns bringing bottles of wine. Some took out knitting or needlepoint. Others traded books or read poems out loud. Lucille told stories of the Merc when it was a gas station before the road was paved. Sometimes Sarah brought her guitar and picked out tunes. The conversation ranged from the headline news, the ridiculous talk of terrorists and evildoers, to more local matters like Laura's new girlfriend, a cute tattooed trapeze artist who was curvy and round as they come. The conversation was easy, the way it is when women gather and let themselves unspool, when they lay down the burden of doing and caring and looking. For a few hours, the Merc felt cozy instead of shabby, warm instead of tawdry. So they decide to have a ladies' night because Floyd and Donna are now in full-out war with each other. In February, just as soon as everyone started thinking of a spring that would not appear for months, Donna announced a ladies' night at the Merc. Over Floyd's objections, she hung posters inviting all the women in town for dinner and drinks to share music and poetry. On the night of the gathering, Donna and Susie pinned up sheets to cover the Merc's windows and taped a sign over the door that said "Women Only." While the women whooped and hollered inside, men gathered on the porch, feckless and adrift, trying to get a peek. Donna made a vegetarian Moroccan stew and served steaming bowls as the room filled with women. A sheet of paper was passed around for the open mic portion of the evening, and one by one, the women stood up to read and sing. I should say that in the meantime, Woody has become the dishwasher for the Merc on Sunday afternoons, and he's kind of like comes in and out like a ghost. So they all know about him. When it was Karen S.'s turn, she wheeled the TV set and VCR player the Merc had on hand for movie nights up to the front of the room. She was a short woman with red hair and bare muscled arms, which she never covered. She rode a Harley and lived in an off-the-grid cabin near the top of Porphyry Mountain. "Let's kick this party up a notch," she said, grinning and sliding a tape into the slot before cranking up the sound. The screen filled with a man's ass pumping back and forth between the spread legs of a prone woman. Her tits were enormous. "I fast-forwarded to the good parts," shouted Karen over the grunts on the screen. The man was Woody. Chairs scraped along the wood floor and a few wine glasses were knocked over as women jockeyed to get a closer look. Some sat on the floor beneath the TV and others stood on chairs. Outside, the men heard the commotion and pressed against the glass. Someone tried to open the door, which was locked. "Oh my God," said Susie as she gaped at the screen. There was whooping and hollering and laughter inside while the men outside grew restless. "Look at that tiny little pussy," someone said. "Look at that huge dick. Oh, Woody," someone moaned. "Go, Woody, go." Howls of laughter. They clapped and stomped. The women watched as Woody and the woman maneuvered into a series of predictable combinations. Woody standing, then doing the woman from behind, the woman on top, and sucking his dick. Woody fucking her between the breasts. "He sure seems to enjoy it," said Karen. The look on Woody's face was pure pleasure, not a performance at all. "You like that? You like that?" He taunted the woman. He slapped her on the ass. He beat her with his cock. Donna stood in the back of the room as the women watched, a strange look on her face. She'd seen Deep Throat like everyone else back in the day and had laughed at the idea of a woman who could come by giving head. Just then, Floyd burst in along with Rooster and Horse, and they'd simply unlock the door with Floyd's key. "Okay, ladies, okay, what's all the noise?" said Horse. The women stood up in unison. "Get out!" Donna shoved the three of them back, her arms spread wide, muscling them with the help of a few others back outside. "I'm so tired of this winter," she said. The women got up to refill their drinks and join other conversations. Only a few watched the porno now. At last came the cum shot. "Why does anyone think that is sexy?" said Evelyn, walking away. Thank you.
Everybody stand up. You need to stretch after that. Come on. Get up. Ooh. Okay, here we go. I want to tell you all a little bit about what's going to happen tomorrow. For those of you who are in the workshops, we have some cool activities happening. For those who don't know, that hill over there that still has a little sunlight on it is called the East Moraine. And that comes down into the lake. There's going to be, the Wallowa Land Trust is going to host a hike up the East Moraine tomorrow at 1:30. It's a little bit of a hike, so if you're not used to elevation, if walking on uneven things, but if go to the lake and take a swim. You walk down there. It's just as nice to walk down here and take your shoes off and stick your feet in the water. So I want everybody to feel like, I don't want anybody to feel excluded from this activity because there's lots of ways to enjoy the moraine and the lake. But if you want to hike up it, we'll be meeting here at 1:30 and then taking a short drive to probably the Green Gate and walking up. That'll be a nice time. And then at 3 o'clock, hopefully everybody will get back in time, but at 3 o'clock, we're having a discussion on publishing with Sharma Shields. And Sharma has pulled together some of the summer Fishtrap faculty. Would you come up and just tell us who's going to do this and what might happen and what can happen? Yeah.
All right, awesome. Hello, everybody. All right. I loved the readings tonight, by the way. Thank you to both Laura and Karen for that. Karen is going to be on the panel tomorrow. Chris is going to be on the panel tomorrow, and Janae. And we are all going to be talking about very casually, and we'll be very open to questions from the audience as well. But we're just going to be talking about different avenues for publication. And some of those might be self-publishing avenues, some of them might be indie press, traditional publishing, and any questions you have, we will answer, even how much was this book advance you got, things like that. I am willing to just disclose all of that information. Sometimes you get $0 and sometimes you get more. But yeah, so anyway, come to that. It'll be super fun. And all right, let's hear about some more porn. All right.
Yeah, it'll be fun, and we're gonna, you're gonna learn there's so many different ways to publish other than stuff. So okay, so let's get to our final reader for the night. I do want to remind everybody, I've been kind of surprised, like after the evening readings, I'm used to like the book loft table being packed. I'm kind of surprised people have been going off. So do come in and say hi to the authors afterwards. Take a look at their books, Karen's, Laura, and Aaron's, and just visit for a little while in the lodge if you like. I'm not forcing you to do it. I was just like, it's fun to kind of chat a little bit afterwards. It's great to have you. So let's get to our final reader, who is also, this is his first summer Fishtrap. Yeah. Aaron Abeda, I guess, spent the first few days before coming to summer Fishtrap floating the Wallowa River with Cam Scott, catching fish and talking about poems, right? So maybe he'll tell us a little bit about that. Aaron Abeda is a Colorado native and served as the mayor of Antonio, Colorado for many years, I think, his hometown. Abeda is the author of 4 collections of poetry and 1 novel. Abeda received an American Book Award and the Colorado Book Award for his book Colcha. His novel, Rise, Do Not Be Afraid, was a finalist for the 2007 Colorado Book Award, and El Primero Atzlan. Abeda was awarded a Colorado Council of the Fine Arts Fellowship for Poetry, and he is the former Poet Laureate of Colorado's Western Slope and was the finalist for the Colorado Poet Laureate. There's much more about Aaron that we want to know, but I'll just invite him to come up now and read for you. Please welcome Aaron Abeyta.
Can y'all hear me? No, I'm just messing. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mike, Shannon. Big shout out to my bro Cam, to my sister Laura, and to all of y'all for being here. Special thank you to my cohort, my students this time around. It's beautiful. Love it here. I also want to say hello to my wife and daughter who are watching on Facebook. So hello, Michelle. Hello, Root. And I'm going to read 3 or 4 pieces for you tonight, depending on time. And I'm going to get started with a couple of love poems, decidedly rated G compared to Karen's. Yeah. But this one's dedicated to my wife, Michelle. And I wrote a series of love poems about things that I thought that maybe weren't typical for the subject matter of a love poem. This one's titled Crane Poem for My Love. 2 cranes fly west into a snowy March morning. These 2 cranes, mates for life, will both outlive us. And one day, my love, because their wings are powerful, because they are the highest flying of all the symbols of love. One day, my love, these two birds will deliver us to the place the Chinese call Western Paradise. They are called Zhanhe, heavenly bird, bird of happiness. I will draw them with tortoises, bamboo, stone, symbols of long life. For us, my love, I wish us something permanent as cranes. And because cranes know all the gods, if one of us should, let's not say it, but if one of us should, then the gods will send either you or I to this mortal place, and one of us will trumpet into the morning air, one of us will dance among the wasted grain in the farmer's field. For you, my love, if I'm first, I will throw feathers into the sky. I will pray my crane prayer in the early dawn. For you, if I'm first, I will stand with my head buried in my wing, one leg raised up to my body. I will, for you, stand that way, so you can see that only the tips of my wings are black. There is only that much sadness. If I should, let's not say it. Only the tips of my wings will be sad. The rest of me will burn white, and red, my love. I'll wait in my red and white vigilance. I will wait. In myth, the crane lives for 1,000 years, and there are stories of how emperors love them. There are stories of prayers tied to the legs of cranes, so the cranes might deliver the fallen. How will you, if, let's not. But if I'm left, I will think of cranes. For you, my love, my prayer when you read it will be in symbol. For centuries, poets have loved cranes. I will write how God visits earth, flown down to us on the backs of cranes. For my love, I will write a crane poem that lives in two worlds. One thin line for every crane flying into an autumn sky, and yet another line for each crane returning to a river source, and another line for the crane song that tells peasants to sow their fields. When I finish these lines, the poem will fall from the sky of continents. And while the crane sleeps, I will tie a prayer poem to its leg for God to carry back to you, my love, my Zhanhe, heavenly bird, a poem, a prayer, like this one for you. Thank you. This goes out to Cam Scott. I kind of invited myself to fish with him, I'll be honest with you. But he was very receptive, and thank you to Haley and for Maggie to housing me for a couple days. I'm so appreciative. Cam tells me, we're going to fish our asses off. I thought he was joking. He's legit serious. Yeah. Great time. But anyway, this is another love poem. It's titled Mystic Trout. In my trout dream, you are twin to the dawn. The pearl of your belly, it is the sky. In the brief breaths, the moments of sunless light, a wash of pink gauzing at the center of you, ghosting away at your caudal edges. And in the human chamber of my heart, where it hilts up against the primal and the uncharted, I assume that on the fifth day, God had grown weary and therefore created you to perfect the domes and orbits that preceded you, so that every possible sky might be foretold there upon your wet body. This shadowless light milks its white breath against the river, and there in the riffles and the deep pools, the trout cue themselves in a braid of shadows. They are the movement of dreams, what man looked upon when he created music. Randomly, consistently, as the slow dreams where I hold you, I remember that the Phoenicians had an alphabet, the Egyptians written words, but neither was blessed enough to have written your name, to have held you in the godlight of dawn. And what of that fourth chamber, the one whose room has flooded and is yours? The dead trees along the river have forgotten what they are. Everything is part wish, part shadow, this indescribable light of madrugada rubbing itself against this river. And I should not have touched you. and because of you dreamt of rain, or a slope of trees, or a moonlit snowstorm, or a ribbon of stars landed untouchable, your body, a constellation to my wishes. Spilling back into the river, toward the secret spot of the human body, the haunt of you barely there in my hand. Thank you. I really appreciate that. This is a new poem. I'm teaching a mixed genre here at Fishtrap, and I have a great cohort. I love you guys. It's been great, and I really appreciate your receptiveness and your humanity. It's been really, really, really a pleasure teaching you guys, and just learning from you as well. I told California Claire that I would make a quick shout out, or maybe it was Suzette, or I told somebody that I'd make a quick shout out that this is a poem that I've been working on for several years, and I lost count of the drafts, but I think this is draft like 127. It's a longer poem. It's a total shift. It's titled Ghosts of Horses, or Saints of the Llano. I grew up on a ranch in southern Colorado. The name of the town is Antonito. And I think you'll learn a little bit more about Antonito in the last piece I'm about to read. But median household income, $21,000. Single parent household, $14,000. And amongst all that tragedy, amongst all that poverty, amongst all that, there's this real deep sense of loss, but a really beautiful sense of place. And I hope this comes out in this poem. It's dedicated to an old sheep herder of ours named Roger and my cousin David, and you'll see why. Anyway, Ghosts of Horses, or Saints of the Llano. A story. This one about the rain, and the horse that ran so fast, only its tail got wet. Or was it the story of the horse that loved the uphill, the mare? Chestnut died of colic, still tied to her picket. The ghosts of so many horses, the one that walked at such a pace, one that roped bulls twice her weight. Some we could never break of their bad habits. Every cruel thing they carry, they learned from us. The saints of the Llano are veiled in memory, dust of driven Hereford and Angus, saints that know only work, saints that need the bridle, others that float from calf to calf by instinct. A dawn in June, saints that heard the rattlesnake, the calf that did not. Our horses could not move the mother cow from her dead calf. I was a boy. That was the first time I knew what it was to be broken. June dawn that breaks a day we know will be made of suffering if we don't make water by noon. We push our saints, they twitch, electric, withers to dock, barrel thick with muscle, energy, an ancient consent they offer us. Temporary surrender, a trust to our urging, yet their life has never removed its hand for what it means to be wild. This is power, capable of being both broken and of loving. Earlier, when I said broken, I meant we learn. These are lessons, pain, faith, trust. The muzzle of the saint feels of forgiveness. Is that what I seek in these memories of ghosts, saints of flesh, galaxies in their eyes? In a dream, the one where I see my cousin, those same horses carry him, now a man, toward a final field. May everything be green. May I travel there, not for memory, but for the knife I will use to carve this seed of guilt from what must be my heart, or something which functions as the mansion of ache, of lament. The horses are saints of the Llano. They carried upon their back every hero I have ever known. Even these ghosts know it is impossible to save everyone. I should have learned. I should have listened better. I should have been kinder, known blessings. In the dream, the dark horse chases a palomina, her rider a sheep herder who comes to me in so many ways, taught me to tell stories, barely believable, undeniable. His name, Roger Adriano. My cousin's name, David. Everything passes, contracts, expands. He waves, does not turn, stands in the saddle. The man that was a boy rides the horse that lost the race. The palomina carries the herder, the storyteller, the alcoholic, the hero who sat a horse better than any man I have ever known. I have come here because of love. I know this. I know these scattered stones are not for gathering. These ghosts of saints are not for writing. Those times have passed. Parts of me are broken forever. I came here for pity. I came here to be better. I came here knowing so few will ever care. This haunting carves at soft wood. I am at the camp where I burn the miscarriages, offer them to smoke and llano. I am here, not because of aspen, nor pinon, nor cedar, nor pine, nor cottonwood. I am here because of loss. There is not a horse nor a saint, born or imagined, that can move me from my loss. I have done my best to always return to Rome. Those that know me will understand what I mean. Killing saves nothing, though sometimes I feel as though I am in love with anger. I could burn every valley. I could, but I am not here for that. I am here to be pardoned. The gelding was named Rex, the mare, Baby Doll. Saints of love, of journeys, of birds on their backs, of rivers forgetting everything at their knees, of summers without pickets or ropes. For a boy, they were unchained saints that never knew brokenness. I have come here to ask to be healed, for a prayer, for a violin solo, where my cousin's ghost weeps in the aisle, able to rest, for finally having known beauty. Earlier, when I said healing, I meant beauty. I don't want to be bitter. Dark bullets, dark and scattered stones, I sometimes think I understand what quitting means. But we have to make it to water by noon. Let cows rest and pair up. May the saints of work and forgiveness dream of green. I came here for spring. Earlier, when I said spring, I meant truth. It is entirely possible to die of, for, because of love. When I said truth, I meant love. Really, I came here to grieve, remember loss. The count is endless, grows daily. It is impossible to save everyone. I came here believing in loss. Hold that note. Do not cease your playing. I came here to be whole. That note, the perfection of it. I know it to be smoke, or is it pink dawn, or flash of wings? There, gone. I came here to be held, to let the song heal. They are only horses, only people. You will never know. Only promises, mine, not yours. I came here because sometimes the day knows just how to break. Hold that note. Let my dead cousin smile. Just one more second. Let the winos and the tecatos know peace. Let fallen things be gathered. The saints of the llano are most powerful at dawn. Earlier, when I said dawn, I meant always. All right, I have time for this last one. It's definitely mixed genre. I'd like to dedicate this especially to my cohort here at Fishtrap. I'd like to dedicate it to all of you and all the writers. And it's my favorite form, and it's a letter. I was telling Aaron and Janae, and anybody that would listen, that that when I was in high school, I'm not proud of it. I was not a very good student. I was actually a horrible student. And that'll come out in here too. But in typing class, instead of doing the exercises that our teacher wanted us to do, I would write letters to the people in class. And that's when I first discovered that I was a good writer, right? And because after class, the students say, oh, write me another letter, right? So I got a D-. But I found that the letter it's my form, it's my jam. And I wrote this letter to my editor. His last name is Pratt. His first name is Darren. Both of those will come out in the piece. So this is a letter to Pratt in praise of books, and this is for each of you. Dear Darren, I am writing in the evening light. It was a time just like this, and I was like about this far from my home water, the Conejos. I have never read in such a beautiful spot as this, right? With a river, and I don't know if you saw that blue heron fly in earlier, right? And the doe and her two fawns earlier, right? And then just you guys out here. It's just amazing. But anyway, I am writing in the evening light. The river birds have begun the last of their singing. Sweet whistles, rapid staccatos that are their language. I imagine they are asking one another for the very same things we might ask for. A lasting grace that is more than just their flight. Antonito blooms in the cradle of 3 rivers, all of which give their names and their water to the Rio Grande west of town. A gorge of andesite rock scored with petroglyphs directs the river south through a rift that split the Llano in two at the earth's forming. The petroglyphs mark the passing of ancient civilizations. Their crude renderings on the black stone are a lasting proof, a carved longing etched for us to interpret. Thermals rise from the gorge, and the river noise and the raptors make upon them a calligraphy of sound and flight that is like words at their genesis. Further to the west, there is a storm tethered to the San Juans. The bruised sky does not descend east into the canyon cut by the Conejos and lined with cottonwoods. Today, for the first time in weeks, the river has green at her watery edges, the peak of runoff fading. The river is my home. It is what I return to, always my north and brightest star. It is the river that keeps my memories, each bend its own story. For all I know, it is this river of water and stone that is my soul. My friend Cristobal once fished here. The river does not belong to him. He of the fierce face, so angry, or so afraid, or so brave. This is the river where I saw him last, before the 22 slugged to his right temple. The river has made it so that the final memories of many things and many ghosts can be washed clean. Wet as water on stone, touched by every current. The river becomes this mirror that is both truth and the shimmer of the half-remembered. Slow, flat water which heals and forgives. The river is what I try to save. I believe the river is better than all of us. It knows how we love, and it urges the broken parts of us healed. And that is why I am writing this letter. I believe books, language, and the perfect word hold that same power. Sometimes it is easy to lose sight of what we are meant to do, what we are meant to change in the world. Are we meant to find the good stories, the most perfect word, to find the music of a line or sentence? We are seekers, and that is what we were made to do, to follow the rivers of our youth, linger at the deep pools of joy, pain, regret, cast our hope to the answers beneath the water's mirror, the reversal of aspect that allows us to see inside ourselves. We broker in what we see on a daily basis, and also that which we imagine. We fuse the two constantly, alchemists that work at new meaning, new vision, new understanding. We must see differently. It is perhaps the only requirement of the job. Eliot called it pre-logical thinking, and he claimed it was only available to and through poets. Shelley called the poet the hierophant of sacred mysteries, and Stevens, when speaking of the great blue and purple tabulae, said it spoke the feeling for them, which is what they had lacked. We must see reflected there in the word that which everyone else sees as human and tangible, and then imagine it as sacrosanct and beautiful, no matter how ordinary, ugly, or foreign it may seem. Do you believe, as I do, that we are here to save language and therefore the power of the written word? Yehuda Amichai described our modern voice as a weary language, a language that once described miracles and God. That is why the books we publish are so important, so necessary. Good books, long labors of words and thoughts that seek the sacred peace of a well-written line. It was books that saved me. I come from a place where leaving has always been equated with success. Leaving is difficult at times. The ways out marked with the glowing road signs of those that tried and failed. The fields at the edge of town rigged with the landmines of doubt, failure, and fear. Leaving has never been easy. My only stated goal when I was young was to leave Antonito and never return. I would negotiate the landmines, ignore the roadside crosses, and the scattered bones of the fallen. I was never a horrible kid, though I think there are a few teachers that might disagree with my self-assessment. I do, however, remember being bored, tired of filling in blanks, tired of books that do not reflect me or my place. School was an oppressive force. Were it not for football and friendships, I cannot say where my early path would have led. I remember the psychologist the district brought in, her battery of tests on me, the intended goal, I learned later, to expel me. There were those mentions of reform school and military school. In short, I hated school. And then my freshman English teacher literally gave me a key one day. At the back of the room, there was a locked cabinet whose contents were off limits. She would constantly tell me, "Those books are for the seniors." I am many things, but chief among them, persistent to a fault. Finally, in what seemed like a moment of desperation, she tells me, "Go ahead, pick a book if you promise to quit disrupting my class." I was only too happy to oblige. If I never have to conjugate another sentence, I will die a happy man. She handed over the small key, and I walked to the back of the room. I chose Capote's in cold blood. And a new world was opened. Emily Dickinson says that every poem has its trapdoor that the reader must fall through. I fell into that book and knew at that moment that I would love books and their saving power for the rest of my life. I cannot remember my first kiss, but I remember Kenyon Clutter and the fact that he ate apples to keep his teeth clean and that he carried a sheep on his 15-year-old shoulders through a Kansas blizzard. He was not an important character in the book, but I was in awe of Capote, of those minor details, of how much weight they carried. I knew then that books and the conjuring they possessed were the first true feathered bird. Perhaps we are all here to trace and collect words, to sow meaning. We collect that thing which people discard as ordinary and bring it to the page of life where it can flourish and be the map of human struggle, and therefore an instruction as to how we can all survive. I worry sometimes that my students are losing their ability to love or appreciate the inexhaustible strength of words and their power. I think they betray that which you or I could never betray, that thing which we give ourselves to like prayer. We call upon language to protect us, give us light, and there is a grace in what we choose to do, the books we give ourselves to, the hard-earned pages that lift us toward being whole. I think there are others like us, a race of people who still love the eloquent transcendence of the exact word, the beautiful and sensuous hip of a perfectly rendered comma that can send any of us on a river journey toward interminable love. We search the geologic layers of the human condition and we bring it to the page because that is our job, to record that which matters, the memory worth saving, the history worth telling, the woven words that form a music that has always been meant to save us. Sometimes we are called to save our fallen home and its forgotten places. Sometimes we are called upon to save the window in each of us the portal mirror that allows us to interpret the sacred mysteries. What is language to you? How, perhaps, has it saved you? Is it, like Li Young Lee said about poetry, each poem a descendant of God? Language is my wife's love of living and remembering things. Language is my mother's hands or my father's tired back. Language, my daughter's smile. The medicine of it, after I believed that parts of me were broken forever. Language is water that carries me simultaneously forward and into the past. I am writing to you from the banks of the river. The storm never made it off the mountains. The birds are silent, and there are so many stars out beyond the dark, swaying bodies of the cottonwoods. I strain for the notes of some sound against canyon walls, but there is only the steady thrum of river. Thank you for the work you do, for your dedication to good and important books, their magic and message, their language of liberation and hope. This letter is in praise of books, their limitless potential and their sacredness. I suppose, by association, this letter is also about friendship and about what is lost or can be lost. I hope to someday show you the Conejos, the river that is my home water. I will show you where I caught my first fish, point out the bend where I last saw my friend Cristobal and his stringer of fish. I will show you my hometown, how much it needs hope, how much it needs books, like the ones we publish. We all need to see ourselves in words. Each of us needs our history to be told and understood, and for your contribution to this end, I sincerely thank you. I am writing to you from the banks of the Conejos River, and I am wishing you a good night. Perhaps you will dream of words and their origins, and in your dream they will begin to fly and work the dusk light of your memory, collecting in their beaks and in their winged flight the parts of your being that were you long ago, and the words will circle in the alpenglow to form the stories and poems that rise toward the growing night, toward stars, toward the timeless space between their origin and your dreaming them back to the page forever and forever without cease. Be well, my friends. Keep bringing us toward a place where the music of words is rendered with just such a grace. Good night.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, all of you, for coming out tonight and this beautiful evening, full moon night tonight. Take some time to go inside and say hi to the authors, ask them questions about their deepest secrets, look at their books. And tomorrow night, we're featuring Frank X. Walker, Christopher Condrich, and Ellen Waterston. So come back again tomorrow night, and we'll see you then. Thanks for being here.